Hey, it's David Baer, and it is Sensei Subira. Hey, Subira.
Hey, David. Hey, everybody.
So you have a plan for us today.
I do. I have a topic for us today. Um, I don't know how many of the viewers are aware of this, but I'm in the process of writing a Kindle book. First time I've ever done such a feat. And actually, when you and I first met, David, at the beginning of the year, you were exploring that, right?
Yeah, I actually wrote a Kindle book. I have three Kindle books out. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and I wrote one that has actually been doing a lot of work on my behalf in my wine business.
Okay.
They published that back in January of 2015. I've been looking into adding an additional group of books as sort of a series, but it's just lots of things in my business, so I haven't gotten around to focusing on that. And I actually started using Udemy instead to basically do the same thing. So Kindle's on hold
Mm.
for me, but I know it's a good strategy, and I'm really interested in hearing what you've been doing and sharing all of the possibilities of the platform with our viewers as well.
Yeah, I mean it's new to me. Udemy, new to me. I just had to do that, sorry. Um and I'm enjoying it. I'm creating a plan for myself using Kindle as pretty much a communication hub.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's maybe the correct term or not for it, but um what I know is clearly you need a plan when you start out, right?
Yeah.
So the plan that I'm working with is actually kind of what you said, creating a series. A lot of times I know a lot of people who have written books and or they written a book
Hmm.
and then they wonder, well, why isn't this working? Why isn't it selling? Why doesn't anyone know about it? And what I've come to find out is you actually need to write more than one book. You need to actually create a series. And so,
I want to just interrupt for a second because that could be daunting, right? Writing one book is scary. But
mhm.
then you hear we hear you saying, "Whoa, but what you really need to do is write multiple books." And let's step back for just a minute before we get into that because I don't want to scare people away who are interested in the subject.
I know. I'm gonna do that. I am going, I'm gonna, so let me just finish. Let me
Yeah.
finish. So, you know, and I led with that because most people think you can write a book and that's it. I mean, you wrote three.
Yeah.
And I think the idea is, David, to let people know that it doesn't have to be, a New York Times bestseller. You don't have to write, Moby Dick. That's not what we're doing.
Hmm.
Actually, on Amazon, the best length of books, they call them short reads,
Hmm.
and so they're like 24 pages. It's not about sitting here writing, like I said, a New York Times bestseller. Coming up with, your I think of it in terms of I'm creating a kingdom,
Yeah.
right? So in my kingdom, and you guys follow me here. I think in metaphors, so this is how I have to go. This is my thought process. Um, so I've got my big idea. I've got my philosophy about whatever it is I'm up to in the world,
Hmm.
and I've got this one main big idea. That's my castle. And then outside of that castle or supporting the castle is the kingdom that I build around it, which are other little short stories that lead people to my main big idea.
Okay.
And they're all, and so once I get clear, at least this has been my process, which is all I can share. um, so this first book that I'm writing, which is called Roar, by the way,
Does
that's
that
my
does
big.
that stand for something, or is it?
It does, but
Yeah.
that's going to be told in the book for
Okay.
anyone who chooses to get it. Um, So roar is my philosophy, if you want to say at this point.
Okay.
And it can, for me at this point, I was able to break that down into four major components. Now I wrote all of it in the book, but as I was writing, David, what happened was I saw four other books in the content of that book.
Aha. Okay.
So the idea is to just keep writing. When you're writing, you just keep, I'm not thinking, how many books am I going to write? I just kept writing. And as I did and my chapters started, they will present themselves. You see, oh, this is
Yeah.
another major idea. As you do your outline, you'll see it. And then I said, oh, I could actually break this whole idea out. That's a whole other book. And it can be 10, 15, 20, 25 pages. Doesn't have
Hmm.
to be anything huge. So that's the plan that I'm working on.
Okay. So I still want to step back a little bit, and I want
Okay.
to understand some of the reasons why Kindle is a worthwhile approach. And I heard you say a few things that I want to sort of make clarify a little bit, because
Sure.
basically what you said was doesn't need to be long, and it it's content basically that you are using to lead people to some other destination. If I heard you correctly, your kingdom is, or maybe I got the word wrong.
That's my analogy. Yeah.
Okay, right. So it's almost like writing a bunch of blog posts or making a bunch of videos that are all leading to your website or your whatever it is you're selling. And so this is just sounds like just another tool out there.
It really is. It really is. I had a story to tell. I'm a storyteller. I had a story to tell. So for me, it made sense to just sit down and keep writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably, in that book, there's literally probably 100 blog posts.
Okay.
There's probably 100 videos that even those can be broken down. So it's just my idea was get as much of my philosophy down, whether it's about business or about, weight loss or whatever the case may be. Get as much of that down as possible. And then you'll be able to see the tangents that you can build upon, the limbs that you can build
Right.
upon. And yes, they all go back to that main source. Now, to answer your question, why Kindle, right?
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of people out there who go, well, I don't want to write a book. That's not what I do. I'm an attorney, or I'm a whatever, and they're thinking, I don't need a book. So that's what I'm looking for an answer on, because I have my answers, but you're working with clients now too, who you're introducing the idea of a book, right?
Yeah, and it is really important. Number one, to make yourself personable. A lot of times, let's just take that attorney, let's say. So you've got this, you've got your JD on the wall and it looks great. And a lot of times that can create distance between you and other people.
Okay.
I have found that a way to bring people close to me, because of what I lived through, there really had been this distance, because I look superhuman having faced death and lived. I can't do that, right? Is what people were telling me. And I said, well, if they knew my story, if they knew what it was for me to walk down this journey, I become very approachable.
Okay.
So it makes you approachable. It also, clearly it does at the same time as making you approachable. It also creates authority around you. That's another thing.
Okay.
Because not everybody is going to take the patience, have the time to sit down and get all of those thoughts out into a book. It's just a perception of authority, but perception is not all that matters, but it matters a lot.
It influences things greatly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Hugely great for list building. I mean, let's be honest. People really read about 20% of any book. That's it. So if you can get the gist of what you're trying to say out in the first 20% of that book, people are going to understand, and they're gonna go back probably if it interests them and see what else you have to say. But that's why I'm saying it's not necessary to write this big long book.
Okay.
So it's great for list building. It's great for passive income, especially if you write more than one book, more than one Kindle book. And yes, you can have a publishing career for people who want that. People have entire careers just based on partnering with Amazon, and that's huge. And the next piece I want to talk about, but I don't want to go too quickly. Did
Yeah.
you want to have me answer anything else?
No, I just wanted to, insert that because I think people get the idea that Kindle books are really just about being a published author, and you've already given us ideas about list building. I think we're actually going to talk about Kindle and list building in a separate episode in detail on how to do that. So, but that's really helpful and insightful that it's not just about getting a book out there, and so it can increase authority is what you talked about. So you get yourself out there and the perception. So I told you earlier, I published a book about wine, and it helps me be more of an authority in the eyes of people who might buy my course on wine, who might hire me to speak about wine, anything else related, because I have a Kindle book that for like 3 whole days was a bestseller, which was even better, right? Not New York Times, but it was an Amazon Kindle bestseller. Cool.
And that's a big deal. It really is. I didn't know it was a big deal until I started down this path. I was like, oh, Amazon bestseller. It's a big deal. And so let me tell you why, because this is really important for people to understand. You are actually, as an author, you are partnering with the largest marketplace on the planet, Amazon, right? By becoming a Kindle author. And I can't really think of very many people who do not have an Amazon account. And people are on Amazon, unlike Google, not to necessarily search, they're on there to buy. So if you have written a book that people are looking for, and you've done your due diligence and all this research before you wrote your book, you're answering a pain point in the marketplace, and you've marketed yourself well. You've partnered with the largest marketplace, the largest bookseller on the planet. Like,
yeah.
I don't know if it gets any better than that. Yeah.
So no, there's clearly power. Now, you talked a little bit about if you've done all of this well and done all this properly, and I think one thing that people may be thinking when you present that is, well, how do I know how to do it properly? And there's tons of resources out there. You and I have both been through at least one resource, the one over at NAMS together. We've done that, and so you've seen that resource. There's a few different courses on it. There's lots of software. There's ways to go through the process. Can you talk a little bit about what's involved? You don't need to get into the details of how to, but some of the considerations that somebody needs to have when they're thinking about not just writing or publishing a book, and those are two different things because you don't necessarily have to write it, okay, by the way. But can you talk a little bit about some of those considerations in terms of, okay, now you got this book, what things do you need to think about in order for Amazon to help you sell it?
Yeah. So as always, you've got to do your market research. They've got tools. They have free tools for that. Going in and seeing who else is selling in the niche that you want to sell in. What is the question you want to answer? You don't want to, here's what you don't want to do. You do not want to try to market your book by yourself.
Okay.
Like, that is not the answer. I see so many people go out and try to conquer this big giant and be found on Amazon alone. So I'm a big proponent of having a marketing team.
Okay.
So, I have used video. which is a part of marketing, can be a part of your marketing strategy, is a part of my marketing strategy. And as I'm writing the book, people are already becoming a part of the story. They're already weaving themselves into the story. They're already anticipating. I'm actually marketing.
So when you say marketing team, you're not necessarily talking about hiring a publicist, and so this is
I'm
more of an
talking,
informal
I'm
marketing team.
talking, yeah, I'm talking about people that are already interested in what I'm talking about. So
Okay.
when I create my videos, I just happen to do live videos. I do live streaming. And there are people who come to my live stream Monday through Friday. And so I am driving them. I started driving them 6 months before. I mean, I hadn't even started writing the book yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I started driving them to a specific list and tell them, hey, you get on my pre-launch team. And then so there's a whole strategy around creating a pre-launch team, kind of training and nurturing a pre-launch team, and having, now you've got 20 people that can help you get your book out into the marketplace when the time is right.
Right.
And
Right.
you've got built-in sales right there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you talked a little bit about market research. You talked about looking and seeing what else people are doing. How do you partner with Amazon? I mean, what is Amazon able to do on your behalf, and how can you take advantage of that?
Well, their platform, so you can for free get on the I can't, the platform name is,
The KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing.
yeah.
Okay.
So you get your author page, you get KDP, and all this stuff is it's free. You can also go to, say if you wanted to not only do a Kindle book, but you also wanted a paperback book, they've got Create Space, again, absolutely free. And you just basically go and register just like you did your Amazon account.
And that's print on demand kind of thing or something like that?
It is print on demand. So you're not having to buy 20,000 books and hope,
Right.
Schlep them out of the back of your car. There's even, oh gosh, the name is escaping me, but I'll get it to you, where you can actually sign books ahead of time.
Oh, that's cool.
You can do you can do a virtual book signing, and actually when people receive your book that it was printed on demand that they paid for in advance, it can come with whatever they asked you to write on the inside of their book as if it was a paperback book. You can also do that with your Create Space.
That's fabulous. Okay.
Absolutely. So what is possible is mind blowing.
Mm-hmm.
It is absolutely mind blowing. Super, I'm going to say simple, but maybe not easy because it does take work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not complex at all. The steps are really that simple. You do your research, you figure out the pain point and your solution. You sit down and write. Again, it doesn't have to be a large body of work. It can be something small. You get your Kindle Direct Publishing and your Amazon author page. And if you want a little extra, you can do the book signing. And like I said, I'll get you the name of that.
Yeah, that's cool. And one thing that people should remember is that Amazon is a search engine just like Google is, or just like YouTube is. And so people are, as you said, what question are you answering? Well, often people are typing in a phrase or a question or a group of words. And part of that research that you're talking about includes, how can you find the right phrase for your title to be found more easily on Amazon? And we all shop on Amazon, so we know that they're always recommending related items and helping spur along sales of things because they're making a percentage of the sale, just like you are. So there's probably ways in there to position your book effectively to take advantage of what Amazon is already doing, promoting stuff.
Yeah, and there's kind of two schools of thought. There's what I have found out is that some people do what you just described and make it easy for the search engines to crawl and find you. Or you can, and this is the way I'm more so doing it. It's not really answering a question. Um, there's a topic. So hero,
Yeah.
for instance, right? Nobody goes and says, I don't even know how you would pose a question that for something like that, but there's books called Hero, which is how I came up with the term roar. I
Okay.
saw a lot of really powerful one word titles to books.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna trigger somebody emotionally, but nobody would go in and type in roar
Hmm.
or what does a lion say? But it's gonna be in the subtitle for sure. Um, so I wasn't really trying to appeal to SEO. That was not what I was trying to do because that's just not how my brain works.
Sure.
I was really thinking about appealing more to the aesthetic of the person who's going through looking for books, more almost like an artist. So as I was reading about how do people come up, because once I got to that point of now I need a title, thinking how am I going to do this? And I am
Hmm.
just not that's how we came together. I am
Yeah.
just not a technical person. I'm not a methodical person. And so I had to do it my way, which is more the artist way,
Hmm.
so to speak. So I just didn't want people to think, you got to be kind of pigeonholed into answering a question that for me felt very stiff and it didn't
Sure.
feel, natural. And a friend of mine, I was brainstorming last week, and she says, "Well, I always say roar." She's like, "That should be your title of your." I was like, "Oh my goodness, you're right." And that she's a customer.
Hmm.
She's someone who's been following me for years, the last 4 years, and that's a trigger word in my quote unquote tribe.
Got it. Okay. All right. I was just looking to see, and I'm not finding it here. I was looking for, I took the other approach, right? I took the let's play with the way that people search, and I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to remember because I don't even remember the title of my book. I think it's called something like the wine and food pairing book. What wine goes with dot dot dot. I think that's what it was called. Some
Mm,
combination of that.
mm,
And as you can see, I mean that's not a really natural title.
mhm.
It doesn't roll trippingly off the tongue. Is that I think that's
Yes.
the Shakespeare phrase from Twelfth Night, right? Um, but it takes advantage of what some people would search for. So if somebody searched in Google for what wine goes with lamb or something like that, and
Mm-hmm.
Amazon is a high authority website, my book might show up, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so that's part of the angle that I use. But as you said, there's a totally different approach, which is to simply write a book, get people interested in the book from externally, from outside of Amazon,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can still play the Amazon, uh, partnership card by having good reviews and decent sales and using their own algorithm to pick up on a few phrases that you might have in your description to recommend your book as being related to something somebody else might have bought or
Right.
looked at.
Yep. 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 And I actually went and found the name autograph.com.
Oh, okay, cool.
Autograph.com. So you can autograph your books in advance.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, great.
So, mhm.
So you're I just wanted to understand a little bit about, so you're going through this process yourself, but you're also helping other people identify the opportunity. Can you talk a little bit about the types of people that you're working with and how they're going through this process of probably, before they met you, they weren't even thinking, I'm going to write a book.
Actually, quite the opposite.
Okay.
Almost everybody who I'm working with has had the idea of writing a book, has played with, sat down and started writing a book and they forgot about it 5, 10 years, 2 years, whatever. And so my client is definitely someone who has a book inside them and they know it already.
Right.
they just didn't know. They didn't know how do I even approach this?
Okay.
So yeah, I don't think there's anybody that I've worked with so far, or anybody that's been attracted to me who hasn't already had that as an idea. And I think, my conversation is, my belief is that everybody has a story.
Hmm.
And what I really specialize in is helping people, because I'm a life coach, right? So I'm helping them extract their own hero's journey story. Where was that one or two pivotal events that happened in their life that kind of made them understand who they are, and whatever their philosophy is, and it has impacted their business.
Got it. Okay.
And so, I'm not helping people write books about business. I'm helping them write their hero's journey story so that they become relatable, and approachable to, their perfect customer.
Hmm. I think one thing that often happens is that people say, I want to write a book, and they don't necessarily tie that together with how do you leverage that book? How do you tie it into your business? How do you do things like grow your list or grow your following or get more traffic?
Hmm.
And maybe that's, if these guys are coming to you having a book, but not necessarily having the plan around the book, that
Yeah.
could be really powerful.
Yeah, having 22 Social has been incredible. That particular platform has given me, helped me to help them build a store for themselves.
Can
Right.
you
So
talk a
not
little bit about that? What do you mean
absolutely,
by that?
absolutely. So they don't have a presence online. They don't have a website. They don't know anything about driving traffic. They don't know anything about being online, and
Mhm.
they are quite honestly intimidated by that, let alone writing a book.
Yeah.
So 22 Social has allows us to kind of level that playing field where they don't need a website. Literally within 30 days, they're able to not only get this platform up on Facebook, which is where everybody is. So now
Hmm.
we've cut out, how am I going to get people to my website once I pay to get my website up?
Yep.
We just basically, you heard of those things, they call them now pop-up. So pop-up weddings and pop-up it's like a pop-up website. You just
Yeah.
literally in 30 minutes, I have, we walk together to put their store up.
Hmm.
And then we're going to fill the store with them. And the first thing is their story. So I have them immediately start cutting videos.
Yeah.
And so they begin telling their story, which is now they're able to actually hear their voice before they even put pen to paper. They've started writing their book because they're just getting online and just talking on video.
Lot easier, lot more freedom, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're restrained by looking at a blank page and going, what am I going to do? You look at the
Exactly.
camera and you have to talk.
Yeah. And usually, because they're doing it live, there's other people there talking back to them, and
Yeah.
those people actually care about them.
Yeah.
Right. So they're already talking to the people who are going to be purchasing their book down the road, going to
They're
be
marketing
joining
partners,
their,
marketing team.
that's what I'm saying. They're good. This is their pre-launch team
Yeah.
already being cultivated, already being nurtured. And now they've got a whole team holding them accountable
Hmm.
to actually write the book. So no longer is that book going to sit on the shelf,
Yeah.
because now I've got 10, 20 people that are like, wow, I want to be a part of it. They've become a part of the process with my clients. So it's been a pretty interesting and cool and very organic, very, very different way to to outgrow a business,
Yeah. Or
and
grow
write
out a
books.
business. Probably not outgrow the
Grow,
business.
yeah, grow out a business. Thank you. Grow out a business. And I really want to talk right now to those people who are creatives, who are, you know, uh, kind of that spiritual, who think there's no place on the internet for me, and I could not do this. I'm telling you, that's who I am, and it can be done.
Hmm.
You know, and thankfully there are tools that have made this really, really simple. And there's you that has helped me so much with the technical pieces. And then there's just, you know, just a ton of information
Yeah.
that I started finding on my own at this point. So,
well, I will say that, look, there's a ton of information, and that's good and bad, right? Because you also need that filter. You need that, you know, who do I actually trust? Which resource do I actually use? And one thing that I found really helpful, and I'm glad that I had the opportunity to introduce one of these to you as well, because you're totally on board with this idea of having a couple of resources and some really solid communities around those resources, so that not only are you, you know, using a tool like 22 Social or learning from an organization like NAMS, but that you have more than just the tool and the training. You have all the people there who are also going through the same process that you're going through, or have gone through the same process that you're going through. And you can jump into a Facebook group for 22 Social and ask a quick question about, hey, I'm trying to do this technical thing. Has anybody been able to accomplish this? Or you know, I'm running into a problem. And before the guys over at 22 Social even get a chance to answer, there's a whole bunch of customers, of users like you and me, who jump in to help answer those questions. Same thing over at NAMS. I have questions all the time about, you know, some technical thing or some approach to, or some way to phrase a headline or something. And I'll jump in there and I'll ask a question, and I'll get tons of great feedback from people who have done it, and I'm confident about using their advice, taking advantage of their advice. But if you just blindly go out there online, you don't know what those resources are. You don't know the quality of it.
Yeah, what I really love about NAMS in particular is they have these 30-day challenges all throughout the year. And one of those is a Kindle challenge. So you don't have to feel like I have to walk through this process by myself.
Yeah.
Literally, you can take one day. They're going to give you a little, you do this today, and you do this tomorrow, and you watch this video, and you do the, before you know it, at the end of the month, you've actually written a book.
Cool. I mean, those are like 3-minute, 5-minute videos with a little bit of homework, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You know what? We should probably even on a subsequent video maybe share that. We'll go through that process. We'll actually share what's inside of the NAMS training on Kindle. And we'll just use Kindle as an example, because there's a ton of stuff in there.
Yeah, there's 12. There's 12 of them in the challenges. There's one for every month. I decided to pick Kindle and stick with it because I knew I wanted to get a book done, and I did it, and didn't do it in 30 days, but I did it in 5 months, which for, you know, a first time around was huge.
Yeah. Excellent.
So, yeah.
Well, listen, I think we are close to the end of our time together. And so any last bits of advice, any words of wisdom that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Do it. That's it. That's it. It's really that simple. Too many of us who writing a book and it's sitting on a shelf.
Yeah.
Pick it up, finish it.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, cool. Sabira, always a pleasure chatting with you. And if anybody out there has questions about NAMS, 22 Social, or anything that we cover on our DIY digital episodes, go ahead and reach out to us. You can always leave comments below the video here in the 22 Social app, or reach out to Sabira or myself, and there's links below this video as well to reach us if you're watching it inside the app as well. So thanks so much for joining us. We'll be talking about other approaches with Kindle, list building, traffic, and we'll go through the NAMS training as well to show you sort of the overview of how that's all structured, and how you know, easily accessible all of that is made for you on Kindle, and so many other topics as well. So thanks for joining us this week, and we'll see you again in a subsequent episode. Take care,
everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.